cutting up things,
Yeah.
you know, how you had to do. I hated that.
Kind of messy, and I always smell bad.
Oh, But they, I was the right.
That's right. There's-
I was the guy that said, all right, here's what the chances are. All
I
right.
got my water down here. Thank you.
There's
I was.
three that are left and three that are.
She was trying to fill it, and then
My mother.
and he put it in front of me,
Call
so I
it,
get.
What's the whiskey honey one?
Whiskey on the same
Honey lemon?
That's what we did.
Bourbon, I can play a bourbon at home. 125 proof.
Need one.
No, that's never good. All right, so.
Oh, look at this.
Good?
We're good.
Okay. Thank you all. We're going to resume our regular council business. Next item is our consent agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll be sitting as the Board of License Commissioners. First item, it's a particular license and new annual license. We have, the first one is J&W Ice Cream, Inc., DBA Clementine's Homemade Ice Cream, 1016 East Main Road, Unit 2A.
Move that it be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next item is.
Motion to adjourn as a
Nope,
board.
nope, nope. I got.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Letter B.
Yeah.
The next one is Dawn Galuska, DBA Alana's Kitchen, 500 Anthony Road.
Move it be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Now I move we adjourn as the Board of License Commission.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have minutes from our November 27th meeting, as well as our November 30th meeting.
Move they be approved as printed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have tax voucher. That's request approval for tax voucher 2023 1211-01.
Move they be approved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We're going to move on to our town administrator's report.
Mr. President, Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. Portsmouth has been awarded the Safety Enhancement Grant from Rhode Island Trust. This is going to be used to purchase hard hat safety lights for the members of Department of Public Works. The Trust Safety Enhancement Grant Program is designed to provide assistance for members for the purchase of safety equipment and services that promote safer working environments. And then second, at the correction, the November 27th council meeting, the agenda item to discuss the trash collection request for proposals was continued to a date in January. That item will be placed on the January 22nd agenda, and the venue for that meeting will also be here in the high school auditorium. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rayner. Okay.
Yeah, the time right now is scheduled 7 o'clock.
Okay. And that'll be on our future council agendas. Next, we're going to move on to old business, which is old business number 1 is the discussion regarding the pavement improvements to East Main Road. And with that, I will recuse myself and I'll turn it over to the Vice President, Mr. Catherine.
Everyone hear me all right? Thanks. On on old business one, discussion regarding pavement improvements, East Main Road. We had a meeting on, thank you. We had a meeting on November 27th, which concluded with a vote of the council to request further information. I'm being shorthand summary. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the town administrator. He provided a rundown of some additional information.
Sure, be happy to. This kind of goes back quite a while, but bottom line, how do we get to where we are tonight? Obviously, I think most of the people in the audience realize that this is the town center project, and the town center project has been in discussion for at least 20 years. In January of 2022, DOT requested council, not approval, but they wanted the council's take on their request to move forward with the East Main Road paving projects in a bundle. The reason that they could do that and move that project up was to take advantage of Infrastructure Jobs Act money. The council voted at that time 601. The president, Kevin, had recused himself to go ahead and approve the Rhode Island DOT request to go into planning and development for the East Main Road project to include the roundabout at the East Main Road Turnpike Avenue intersection. That planning and engineering has been going on since then. Just last month in November, just prior to Thanksgiving, the director of DOT, Peter Alviti, requested a meeting with me. And at the time, I had no idea what the meeting was for, other than to ensure that we were on the same page with regard to the East Main Road project. Quite frankly, I didn't know what that meant until I walked into the meeting. It was virtual. At that meeting, it was very simple. The director had asked me to assure him that the council was still behind the planning and design of the East Main Road project, and specifically the roundabout. Of course, I don't speak for the town, and I don't speak for the town council. And I relayed to Director Alviti that would have to go before the council in an open discussion, which is what happened that Monday night. That Monday night, there were more people than fire code would allow to be in the town council chamber, and we moved that meeting to the Thursday. So since Thursday, I've been working assiduously to clarify what the DOT position is. Following that meeting Thursday night, I was called by the director, and the director, in a conversation, relayed that the status of the project, at least in his mind at that time, the status of the project would not continue in Portsmouth if the council did not support the roundabout. He saw no way to separate the roundabout project from the rest of the Portsmouth paving project for a number of reasons, mostly to do with designing and stormwater mitigation and drainage requirements. So there have been a lot of discussions since last Thursday between DOT staff and myself to try to just nail down is that, the final answer, or what is the DOT position. In the meantime, I was asked by DOT to gather and collate a list of what the council would want in a project and what they would not want in a project if the roundabout is not constructed. We were not able to get those questions and answers because it also became apparent that that discussion can't just, and those questions can't just be gathered overnight. This is a big question, it's a big ask, and that there would be no sense moving forward with that project in a hurried fashion until both the council and DOT know what it is that we want to do moving forward. The agreement was that obviously this is going back on the agenda, and that the council would address the agenda items tonight, and that I will relay that information to DOT tomorrow. In the meantime, there were a number of questions that we were able to answer and send to the council earlier. Just I won't read the entire thing, but the bottom line is there were a number of similarities between the questions that were submitted by the council. The first addressed business impact, and specifically, is there a mechanism for affected businesses to recoup lost revenue due to road construction? Bottom line is we are unaware of a formal process to recoup any financial losses suffered by any business due to road construction. However, in the engineering plan, obviously there are engineering measures in place that are designed to mitigate the negative effects on both businesses and residents along East Main Road during construction. That's called the traffic management plan for the project. Another issue, a question that was raised, were project alterations. So if the roundabout is removed from the plan, could RIDOT proceed with the planned resurfacing of East Main Road from Headley Street south to the Middletown line and redesign other elements for implementation at a later date? The answer I got back from DOT was yes, East Main Road in its entirety in the Portsmouth section could be repaved, but it would have to be redesigned and reprogrammed. So the Portsmouth portion would be taken out of the current project and not completed along with the rest of the East Main Road paving that would start next year. It would be redesigned, reprogrammed, and reinserted back in the TIP at a later date, to which I don't have any insight to. It would be down the road. The emphasis being that this project is being done with infrastructure, the Infrastructure Jobs Act money, which is going to run out. So bottom line is the town staff, we cannot predict how RIDOT will move forward on any other plans at this point other than the original pavement improvements, which included a roundabout. Regarding drainage and design, regarding drainage, is there a planned pump system in the current plan, and does DOT have examples of roundabouts? Bottom line is there's not a planned pump system. This is obviously gravity fed, and the design was to mitigate stormwater drainage in the roundabout design with a sand filter system that would be in the vicinity of the roundabout if it gets built. Sidewalks and impervious structure, would repairing the existing sidewalk from Headley to Turnpike and adding sidewalk up to Anthony House increase the impervious structure beyond the capacity for repaving only on East Main? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is since East Main Road was last paved, drainage and stormwater requirements have changed. So any paving done on East Main Road would have to incorporate those new standards. So it's not just the addition of a sidewalk in the small sections where the sidewalk doesn't exist. And then traffic and construction logistics. Will East Main Road be completely closed during construction? And if so, for how long? And then how long does DOT anticipate the entire project to last in its current design? We can confirm that East Main Road will not be completely closed during construction, and RIDOT has made every attempt to become informed of every school bus stop, bus routes, school start and release times, and special events. And then that information was provided to them and is incorporated in their traffic management plan. It's also the town's understanding that up to 500 linear feet of road would be under construction at various points within the limits of the project at a time. And then they would construct the project with appropriate flagging personnel and enforcement officers. RIDOT has emphasized that every access egress point of business for businesses and residential properties would have suitable entry, meaning points of access will not be blocked off. RIDOT originally planned the start of the project in mid-April 2024, with an anticipation of the project taking 2 construction cycles ending in the later part of 2025. There was an issue and question regarding business accessibility. Will affected businesses remain accessible to their customers during construction, and what arrangements will be made to ensure this? Bottom line, yes, all businesses and residential properties shall remain accessible during construction. Land acquisition and compensation, how much land will be needed for the construction of the roundabout, and will property owners be compensated? All property owners affected by the construction of the roundabout received official correspondence from RIDOT around the June-July 23 timeframe. Any acquisition of property then becomes a private matter. Construction impacts mitigation. What measures does RIDOT have in place to mitigate construction impacts? All major construction projects, including this one, have prepared traffic management plans, as I've discussed. So the TMP addresses hours of work, duration of work, project details, phasing of work, traffic signage, speed limits and construction zones, site access and egress, communication, emergency procedures, times of lane closures, and priority lanes of traffic. With regard to the roundabout design presentation, obviously the design plans could not be released. They could not be released, and they have not been released because this is going to be a low bid contract. Releasing the plans before the release of the request for proposals would compromise the process and would not be legal under the procurement laws. The plans have been made available to the council, and in the STARS report, the Rhode Island Strategically Targeted Affordable Roadways Solution that was published in 2010, 2011, and briefed to the council, that did address in a not a final solution, obviously, what the roundabout would look like. There was an issue regarding traffic flow and curb cuts. It was asked, could we address concerns about the lanes entering from East Main Road and the potential impact on traffic flow, especially at curb cuts near CVS and the bank. The existing curb cuts at CVS and the east side of Bank Newport will not change in this plan. There has and will continue to be 2 lanes of traffic to cross for those vehicles turning left into CVS. Furthermore, patrons of the Bank Newport turning left at the east side access point will have 1 lane to cross, but we do acknowledge that this particular area can become tricky and is also exactly where the 1 lane divides into 2 lanes. So where we stand now, as I stated, DOT to proceed with the project in Portsmouth. DOT is looking to see if the council still supports the roundabout as designed in the construction plan. If the council does not support the roundabout, then the East Main Road Portsmouth portion of the project will be redesigned and reprogrammed.
Thank you, Mr. Rayner. I'll turn over to the council in a moment. I just want to frame it to let folks know. We've heard a lot of good comments from a lot of people. Week and a half. And we all heard, everyone. We all listened, we all heard. I am going to provide time for public comment, but in light of all that we heard just about 10, 11 days ago, I'd like to sincerely ask that if you spoke last time and you don't have something new to contribute, that you please either forego just coming up to repeat your remarks or at least try to keep them succinct and brief. But before I do open it up for public comment, I'd like to have my fellow council members weigh in. Mr. Levesque.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is actually, I think, the first time I've ever put something on an agenda and been the third speaker. But that's all right. I apologize to all of you. I apologize to my colleagues on the council. I am a firm believer that when you have made a decision, you should stay by that decision. In this instance, I knew even at the time that the decision was very troubling to me. And so I used a parliamentarian device called proceeding or voting on the presiding side and said that I was going to try to bring this back. Immediately subsequent to that, 2 days perhaps, I found out that in fact, what all of us, I think, believed, which was that the DOT was acting somewhat capriciously and forcing us to make a difficult decision without enough opportunity to truly review it, turned out to be inaccurate. In fact, DOT was merely following up on our request. Now, each of you knows how much that impacted your opinion when you spoke, but I will tell you that the anger at DOT was palpable. And I found myself in a rare position of defending DOT, which I had not done most of my life. Again, I do not take bringing this back casually, but I do believe that the Rotary is, for the future of our community, going to be a lovely part of the town area, as you describe it. I did not know all the work that the administrator put in, but my own impression from all of that work is that DOT responded promptly, responded to everything, tried to be conducive to a good conversation, and let us know exactly what was going on. I do want to mention a particular thing I did follow up on because I was wrong. I made a representation to the representatives of Clements that compensation was automatic if they lost business during a project. I contacted DOT the next day, and I got a lot of people who didn't know what I was talking about. I followed up a little bit and discovered that project managers have a certain amount of flexibility in responding to anybody untowardly hurt by a project and try to provide them some form of amelioration. And I believe that can include money. But I had said strictly that you were entitled, and that was wrong. Again, I apologize to my colleagues. I apologize to all of you here. At least I would have raised all of these issues at the meeting we had on Thursday, and perhaps it would have provoked a different sort of reaction. I join actually the chair in suggesting that we did hear a great deal of conversation. I appreciate it. I will tell you that I went up to the planning office to take another look at the blueprints. I am a fairly educated person. I have a Juris Doctor. I went all the way to high school, all the way to college, all the way to law school. Blueprints don't mean a darn thing to me, whether they make sense or not. When you're on a council, for instance, I think people here from the state legislature will tell you, you start to begin to rely on. If something came up about healthcare or something like that, I would look immediately to Dr. Ryan. Technology, I would look to Mr. Katz. And I almost dropped your min.
That's okay.
If I was going to do anything, Councilwoman Abbott, one in this area, has been extraordinarily diligent. And also she has demonstrated herself to be a really reasoned and comprehensive person in dealing with these matters. Mr. Gleason and I probably spectacularly disagree on too many things, but if we're talking about history of town, we'll do that pretty good. And Mr. Hamilton has institutional knowledge, and he has helped me any number of times. I disagree with him even more than Mr. Gleason, but at least I will give him credit for that. Please keep an open mind. You have heard a lot more information than we had available to us last Thursday, and I hope that it satisfies you. Thank you.
Before you turn off your mic, Ms. Levesque, your agenda item actually calls for you to make the motion to rescind and replace it.
Mr. President, I would make a motion that we rescind our decision of Thursday, I believe, November 22nd.
Correct.
And in lieu of thereof, approve the request for the roundabout and other as proposed by the DOT in its correspondence to us.
Second.
There's a motion in a second. Other input from council members?
Hi. Bear with me, but after our meeting on the 27th, I 27th,
30th.
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 No,
It started on the 27th.
Monday was the
Continued,
27th,
yes.
was continued on the 30th.
Yes.
Okay. After our meeting on the 30th and all the commentary that we heard, went back and did a little bit of research and tried to refresh my memory on everything that we had discussed and assessed dating back to 2019. I looked through the data that we looked at previously. I looked at resolutions that were passed in 2019 and 2022. And all the, kind of refreshed my memory on the discussions that we had regarding the safety assessment for East Main Road. Based on everything that we've done to date and all the input and direction we've given to both our town administrator and our town planner, it is clear that we have to address the intersection of Turnpike and East Main Road. I asked the chief of police for updated crash data actually for that intersection, and that intersection alone corresponds to 10% of the accidents on East Main Road. So to say that we prioritize safety on East Main Road, but yet we want to do nothing with that intersection is hypocritical. And we really do have to prioritize that, that intersection. So as Mr. Rayner has already outlined, we've spent a lot of time and energy and put a lot of effort to get this far with RIDOT. And I truly believe that it's our duty as a council to support the project and ensure that improvements are made to East Main Road, in particular, the intersection of Turnpike and East Main Road. So in order to be able to get my head around supporting this and understanding how we got here and how the design got to this point, I also did some outreach. I'm not personally a transportation engineer, but I got feedback from 3 this week. And I spoke to people that live in towns in both Rhode Island and Massachusetts that have or have acquired roundabouts in the recent years. Roundabouts are the recommended solution for that intersection. They made roads safer, they reduce the number of serious accidents, and they keep traffic moving, reduce congestion, and slow it down. I think none of us up here are transportation engineers. And some of us can read plans, some of us cannot. But we need to listen to recommendations that are given to us by qualified experts in the matter. That said, I can read plans, and I did get some good feedback from a couple of transportation engineers that I spoke with. So I do have some specific comments that I don't think this is the right venue for, but I will bring them to our town planner and discuss them with her, and you can take it to RIDOT's consideration for, whenever is appropriate or suitable. But I think based on all the comments that we heard from the public at our last meeting, there were a lot of different comments. The one that really has the most merit and the most concern is construction impacts. So I did look into 2 options for that. I think it is our responsibility to work with RIDOT to try to mitigate those impacts. I think the overarching message that we all need to keep in mind is that construction is a necessary evil of our life as it is. We can't not do construction projects because of their impacts, because our infrastructure falls apart and life as we know it doesn't work. So construction is just something we have to do. We just have to go about it as efficiently and thoughtfully as possible. And I think RIDOT has demonstrated their efforts in that regard with the transportation management plan. I also did some research. MassDOT has a very comprehensive guide on how to design and construct roundabouts. It has a whole section on construction phasing for how they keep traffic moving through the area while the roundabout is under construction. So I think as a town, we can understand the impacts and we can know that they're finite. Construction doesn't go on forever. It does end. It ebbs and flows based on different activities that they have going on. It sucks. Yes, it does. And it does have impacts for businesses. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But it is our responsibility to find a way to get these projects done and mitigate impacts as much as possible and know that at the end of it, the benefits will far outweigh the negatives of the construction period. So it is, I believe that when the project is all said and done, and the construction has ended, it will greatly benefit the businesses in those areas. So as a community, I hope we can all rally behind those businesses, support them during the construction period, and make sure we get to our end goal with everybody still there working together. So I am glad that Mr. Levesque brought this back to us today and that we have an opportunity to hopefully provide RIDOT the support that we need to move forward with this project.
Thank you, Councilmember Abbott. Thank you.
No.
You have to push that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope.
Still not on.
Here you
You're on.
You're on. Right into it.
We're awake now.
I'm not comfortable with technology. Or with roundabouts for that matter. I don't know how to drive on them yet. I'm apparently going to learn. Anyway, I also don't have a very good memory. So I had to dig back into our town council minutes, also into our local papers. And this edition of East Bay RI, an article by Mr. McGaugh recalls a meeting at the very beginning of 2022 where we had been complaining forever that DOT was not prioritizing the repair of East Main Road. And again, we were given all the usual reasons. There's a lot of communities in the state, there's limited funds, they'll get to us. And then suddenly, with these federal construction funds suddenly being available, we were suddenly told that, oh, they can fix it. And the entire plan was presented to us as a council, repairing East Main Road and putting a roundabout in the Turnpike Avenue East Main Road intersection. And at that time, we went with President Aguirre recusing himself. We voted 6-0 to approve this plan. So in fact, this did not come out of nowhere. This is something that they've been planning for a while. I, in the last meeting, expressed my concern that if we delayed this again, that the plan would go away and the funding would go away, and apparently both are true. So anybody who's driven on East Main Road, which we all do every day, cannot help but notice parts of it are crumbling. I know at least 3 people whose cars have been damaged running over potholes in the last couple of years. One lost a hubcap, the other one nearly lost a wheel. The road is crumbling and just doing patch jobs, which was pointed out actually during our last meeting by several people in the audience. Patch jobs don't last very long. The entire road needs to be fixed. So in this situation, I don't see that we have a lot of options. That road needs to be fixed. It's dangerous as it is right now. And if, although I'm not fond of roundabouts, I'm sure I can learn to drive on one. So I don't see that that it is in the town's best interest to put off DOT one more time. And in quoting Mr. McGaw's article, have the plans delayed to an uncertain time in the future. I think the road needs to be repaired now. And if the DOT is finally willing to do it for us, I think we have to go along with that plan. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. I have some remarks too, but I want to defer to my other council members if they want to take the floor.
Go first.
Councilmember Levesque apologized, and I'm going to do the other side of that coin and say thank you to my fellow council members who may have made assumptions on where I might have voted last week, but I didn't. And also, I'd like to thank the members of the public for bearing with us while we have these deliberations in open session as we do. I've said many times that only talking in front of an audience is not normal human conversation. And it is awkward. This is the only forum we have for discussing things amongst ourselves. And so it's an evolving discussion, and we struggle, all of us I know, we struggle with making the right decision, the best decision for the people of Portsmouth. Since the last meeting, I took quite a bit of time looking into all of the information I could get my hands on about roundabouts, about this Portsmouth East Main Road project, going back to, as was mentioned, the letter of support from about a year ago, from actions taken by councils throughout the 2010s and going back to 2010 and going back to 2004 earlier. There's an enormous amount of information to be had. I went to town hall, I looked at those, the final design plans, and you're right, Ms. Levesque, they're written for an expert audience that knows how to read them. I'm an attorney. I do a lot of work with contracts, and I tell people, if you're reading a contract without a lawyer, listen, it looks like English, but it's not. There's words that look like common words, but they have very specific meaning in the legal field or in the contract field that you're talking about. There are also words that just aren't used outside of contracts. It struck me, we're talking about construction, contract construction. There's a 5-volume legal treatise on contract construction. It's its own topic. So words have different meanings. I can tell you that I'm probably not quite as learned as Ms. Levesque, but I could not. The very final page, which is there's a word for it, the painting and lining or the striping, and you know what it's called. It's the image of the roundabout that shows what it might look like to a person with the lines on it and the arrows showing who goes where and what signage. That was almost understandable. Everything else was acronyms that were unfamiliar, symbols that have very specific meaning, I'm sure, to civil engineers and traffic engineers, so I appreciate that they were made available. But the real takeaway I got from it is the amount of effort that went into that. DOT is this large entity that we don't know what it is. We can point to the director and be angry at him for whatever reason. But the engineers that work there are competent, dedicated civil engineers. They just want to build good things. If the town of Portsmouth asked for a roundabout 20-something years ago, and that location was not suitable for a roundabout, the engineers would have said so. They wouldn't just design one. That is my opinion. I looked at information on roundabouts from the state of Rhode Island, but also from New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Utah, Nebraska, southern state, I forget which one. I think it was in Louisiana. There's lots of information out there about roundabouts. And I learned that indeed, they're not the right solution for every location. But there are criteria, and I believe that the roundabout location, the East Main Road Turnpike Avenue intersection is suitable from my non-professional look at it. Another thing I learned is that a lot of my assumptions from last week and a half ago were wrong. I assumed that, for example, we heard that if we don't proceed with this roundabout plan, that we're just going to get milling and paving, and we're not even sure when that'll be, maybe someday in your lifetime. And I assumed that was DOT being vindictive or somehow just, brushing off, well, if you don't want this, you're not getting nothing type of, I assumed that. That was wrong. What I learned is, even though I don't quite get what's in the 100+ pages of design plans, I got that it's a plan. This is a bad analogy, but it would be like asking for someone to design a 2,000 square foot house and having all of the blueprints done up so that it's, how many nails are in it, it's ready to go. But just before you go to construction, you say, you know what, I only want 1,500 square feet. You have to start over. You have to start from scratch and redesign. You can't just not build the kitchen and call it 1,500 feet. We're talking about a roundabout. We can't just say, don't do that, but do everything else. It changes the entire design and would have to go back to square one. I don't like that, but it's a real answer. And it's not, I assumed it was just bad faith by DOT. It's not. It's just what will have to happen if we don't do the plan that's currently before us. Traffic roundabouts are safer. It keeps traffic moving. And I've done a lot of effort. And I just want to talk about knowledge and what people know. Having talked to Mr. Rayner, the town planner, countless, I'd say weeks and weeks of hours in recent time have been spent on this. And probably going back to 2004, so much time has been spent by so many people on this that we could not tell you all of the information unless you wanted to sit here for weeks on end. So it is always a challenge for members of the public to stay up to date on everything. It's a challenge for members of the council to stay up to date on everything. There's a fairly large flow of information. And at a certain point in time, I have decided that I have to trust my town administrator, that when he says, this is what DOT has said, that that's what they have said. That I'm not going to make up in my head, maybe they're doing something else. I noted that I would take comments from the public. Again, I'm going to ask that if you spoke last time, to please, rather than just come up and repeat yourself, repeat your comments from last time. We've all heard that, yes.
Can we speak real quick?
Of course.
All right, thank you, sir.
I didn't think you wanted to, sorry,
No.
I'm sorry, no, absolutely.
Mr. Gleason first.
Mr. Gleason.
To start, I have a lot of questions. First off, last Wednesday was a request from DOT through Mr. Rayner for us to put together just about what you're doing, put some of your questions together and send them to us. The answers to those questions were given to us today about noontime, and they weren't put together by DOT. They were put together by Leah, the town planner, because again, DOT is not going to respond to us. They have taken this viewpoint that they will respond to our questions after we made a decision tonight. And I say that's not the right time to do that. We should be getting information from them, but yet all of us are doing our own research. And we're not talking about it in general at a town council meeting. We're trying to make a decision without having this information. is where we stand.
Mr. President, point of order.
Mr. President,
Mrs. Levesque, you had called a point of order.
Yeah,
you had your chance to speak. It's my turn.
What is the
yeah,
point of order?
I'm asking you, are you suggesting that the administrator and the planner have misled us? And said they got these responses from DOT and you're telling them they were the planner and the administrators, the answers? Or did they in fact get those answers, voluminous as they are, from DOT?
Well, I don't need to answer your question.
The answer was not direct from Mr. Gleason, let me just respond to the point of order. I think that is heard. I would like Mr. Gleason to have his time to finish his remarks, and then if you have comments.
Casting aspersions on the administrator.
I think the administrator can take care of himself.
No, I don't think it's his job. If somebody says something that's untrue, it's our job to make sure it's responded.
And I respect that you called the point of order.
Let's know he's not telling the truth.
I don't deem the remarks of Mr. Gleason to rise to a sufficient level of attack against others to cut him off. Yeah.
I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Rayner took it that way, that there's any kind of casting aspersions upon him or whatever 50-cent word you want to use there, or with Ms. Hitchens on this as well. I'm just saying this whole process has been very rushed, okay, without time to prepare. I think all of us could probably fairly say we're all dizzy with information, trying to decide whether this is the right thing to do for the citizens of Portsmouth, to try and keep our businesses in business at that particular location. In viewing the drawings today with Leah Hitchens, our town planner, she pointed out the rendition that we did have drawn up probably in 2003, when we had a dream of a town center. And the town center had 3 roundabouts in it. The whole idea was to have them located, one in Clements Market, one in the middle near Lawrence Farms, and one up near the town hall. And with the 3 roundabouts, it would encourage people to slow down and stop at any stores that we may have in that area. We talked about this before. If you looked at the roundabout that was located at Clements, there was like a fountain in the middle of it. And we both kind of laughed about, why would somebody do that? You know, that doesn't really make any sense in the design. It showed a nice median, and it showed houses, new stores on property that was owned by Clements. So I don't even know how that could have taken place, but that was our pipe dream back in 2003. And the last meeting of the town center committee was 2011. I don't even think we should be calling this a town center project. It's just an idea by RIDOT, which to me is a 5-letter swear word at this point, to not have a conventional intersection because it's been deemed that roundabouts are the new way in the future of safer traffic in Rhode Island. And while I'll say that some of the statistics show that because the cars are at a slower speed, that the severity of the accidents are less. Again, we go back to the data that shows that, and Chief can correct me, 2.9% of the accidents, let me think how this went here. 2.9% of the accidents on East and West Main Road are at that intersection. 10% on East Main Road are at that intersection. I don't believe there's been any fatalities. And if people are driving normal, which never happens anymore, then this existing intersection would work just fine. I want to comment on a couple other things. Do you want to clarify that, Chief?
Just to correct that, so that's 2.9% of the total crashes in town occurred at that intersection, not just the East Main Road and West Main Roads. That's 2.9% of every accident we had, whether it's parking lot accidents, wherever it is. 2.9% of our crashes happen.
Any fatalities?
No fatalities in recent times, so it's my memory.
Should we wait?
Again, as pointed out, a very small number, in my opinion. Some clarification. I want to clarify a statement that I made at the last meeting was my statement that there aren't any sidewalks from the intersection up to, say, the senior housing. And I would like to correct that because there are existing sidewalks from the intersection up to Henry Dennis Boulevard. And we have one small stretch of tar in front of the fire station, but nothing that takes you up to Anthony House. And my concern has always been to get those sidewalks replaced. So even though we have impervious pavement, which means water can't seep through tar, already there, I guess, because we are working to different standards, anytime we do any modifications to the roadway, we follow a new guidelines from the Clean Water Act. So even though we're just replacing sidewalks in kind, there is a requirement that we have to redesign the system or come up to new standards, if you will. However, they could still incorporate some of the design features that they already have for the roundabout, which is a water retention pond, if you will, at the south side of the bank at the intersection. That is going to take runoff coming down the hill and divert it away from, places you don't want it to be. Essentially, the water will be continued to the Bloody Brook area and towards the west side of the island. The other comment that came to mind when I left the meeting was the fire chief's comment that he made a statement that said, as long as the roundabout is built correctly, it will work for our fire apparatus. To me, I thought about his comment, and I have to disagree respectfully because it's missing a certain statement. To me, he needed to say, if the roundabout is designed and built properly, it'll work for our equipment. And I don't think that we have the right design from RIDOT here. By looking at their own paperwork, they basically say roundabout should be 150 to 230 feet in diameter. If you look at the drawings, this is below those sizes. Now, could we make it bigger? Yes. Do I want to be a counselor that promotes eminent domain by asking for more land from Clements Market? No. I'm just saying, we're doing this as a retrofit. This is not a new installation, and it may not be the right solution that we're trying to come up with here. Chief, if you wanted to comment?
I would. First, my apologies. Last meeting, I was on Zoom, and yet I couldn't communicate very well. It wasn't working. So my comment last week was about the design, as long as it was done properly. The roundabout, I have since looked into it, is designed with about a 44-foot radius. By standards, NFPA standards, we need a 25-foot inside radius. Our ladder truck is a little larger than that. So standard says 25 feet or what the authority having jurisdiction determines for his apparatus. So the roundabout as designed, the radius that it is right now is plenty big enough for our apparatus. That was my point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My thoughts as far as the fire truck goes and the way that the roundabout is designed, if you need to get somewhere, you're going right to the middle of the roundabout. You don't even have to go around it, so to speak. Again, like I said, I believe that they do not have enough room in this design to, not necessarily for the fire department, but to get traffic through there smoothly. I'm an engineer, I'm not a traffic engineer, and I just state that as an opinion. We have an intersection that works, has a low accident rate, low fatality, if at all, rate, allows for the emergency vehicles to get to different parts of town, and doesn't require taking land by eminent domain. So I will not support the roundabout concept at this point. And I'm sorry that we had to come back to this meeting without further information from DOT to share with you folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gleason. Councilmember Hamilton?
Thank you, Mr. President. A lot has gone into all the discussions in terms of how we got here. and how we move forward. I'm still, even though in January of 22, we gave the approval to move forward. That approval was done by 2 steps. One was, as my agenda item states, paving from Headley Street down to Middletown Town Line, and then also resurfacing down the hill. The tip for resurfacing from Turnpike to Headley Street was $13.79, and from Headley Street to Middletown Line was $13.80. Somewhere between January 22 and May of 23, they were melded together. My request is that they take them back out, look at a secondary design so we can look at both a roundabout design and a widening. I want people to understand that no matter what happens at the intersection at Clements and Turnpike Avenue, there will be major disruption. There will be a lot of construction. There will be water mitigation, stormwater mitigation that will disrupt business all across, and there's really not a lot we can do about it. The future of whether or not a roundabout is safer, a roundabout flows traffic better, is totally up in the air. The part that worries me the most at looking at it is once it's there, it's there. If 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, we fix the road as similar to what it is, even if there isn't a roundabout put in, I believe there still will be some eminent domain and purchase of land to accommodate new sidewalks. I mean, everybody's been down there, everybody's seen it. Yes, there's a sidewalk that goes from roughly Atria up the hill to the Quaker Manor. I wouldn't call what's in front of Slate and Copper Roof sidewalk, but technically it is. At this point, I would still like to see DOT separate out the projects. And even though it would cost a little bit more money to design it both ways, so we could see the impacts totally, whether it's roundabout or widening the intersection, realigning the lights, potentially making better turn lanes. In terms of accidents, I am concerned about the accidents. I am concerned about the speed. For people who have had accidents, my neighbor Phyllis, God rest her soul, wasn't killed in an accident there, but she was T-boned. People fly through that light. I guarantee everybody sitting here doesn't hit the gas when the light turns green. You stop, you wait, and you look both directions to make sure nobody's flying through that light. A roundabout would help alleviate that. It's not going to alleviate congestion. We're still going to have congestion at 4 to 6, 6:30. It's still going to back up to Food Works and maybe beyond, whether it's a roundabout or a light. What it would do is any other parts of the day, maybe flow traffic a little bit smoother. But some of the traffic counts and the way the projects were put together don't allow me to support it in its current plan. That's why I would like to see them separated back out to 1379 and 1380. And let's look at a potential, and in the end, it still may be a roundabout that is the best option, but let's look at them both side by side.
Any further comments from council members? At this time, I will entertain public comment. I will again sincerely ask that if you spoke last time, to not just repeat what you spoke, because we've all heard that. And so out of respect for everyone's time here, if you keep your remarks succinct or to new content. If you could state when you come to the microphone, your name and address.
My name is Craig Gardner. I live at 149 Canonchit Drive. And I did not speak at the last meeting because after 4 hours of time, it was time to give up at that point. However, I would like to make some points. First of all, because I live at Canonchit Drive, I'm within a mile of that intersection. I go through it daily at rush hour, especially afternoon rush hour. And I am very familiar with the way the traffic moves through that at that time. For right now, the intersection takes about 20 to 30 cars every day in the left-hand lane headed north on East Main Road to go through that intersection. They stop because the light stops them, but then they are released and they go through that intersection in a steady stream. I'm looking at the impact of this rotary that is not going to control that traffic. So when you talk about left turns, for instance, a left turn out of Clements, the problem is simply fixed by the light at the exit of Turnpike Avenue, stay red, and then there'll be no problem making a left turn there. However, when you add a rotary, making a left turn out of CVS at night in the rush hour is going to be even worse than the left turn at Clements. The other thing I did notice is that the statistic that roundabouts are an improvement do not necessarily apply to all roundabouts, improving over traffic lights. And I note this because in several years ago, a roundabout at the junction of 138 and Route 2 was replaced by traffic lights. So even DOT recognizes that not every intersection is optimal for. Other point I'd like to make is that excuse me. Yeah, I think the statistic that was brought forward by Councilman Gleason of the 2.9% of all East Main Road, of all accidents in Portsmouth, that is a much more indicator of the problems on the rest of East Main Road, especially when the additional statistic was 10% of the accidents on East Main Road are at that intersection, but 90% are not at that intersection. And that says the problem is much more likely to be a problem in the rest of East Main Road, which we know is a dangerous road for its narrowness and also the pavement situation. I think that's about the points I had to make, and I'd like to pass.
Thank you.
David Reese, 66 Reebok. This is a little bit different take. You had to vote for this roundabout. It'll be damaging our fragile commercial tax base, likely raising property taxes. The fact that land be taken away from existing local businesses in hard times by eminent domain is wrong. Roundabout plans are secret. We don't know even what they're going to take. If the council supports this, it makes Portsmouth an unfriendly and difficult business environment. What business would want to start or relocate here? Facing that attitude, businesses affected by the roundabout will lose customers and may well go out of business. I also know that seniors in Portsmouth rely on Clements for convenience and ease of access. Without the lights, there'll never be a clean break in the traffic, and the seniors will be expected to judge traffic and where to merge into that endless stream of frantic commuters. This will not end. And the other thing I'd like to mention, I think Mr. Hamilton was mentioned something about drainage. Well, I do know in back of where Slayton Copper is, there was the aqueduct construction there for quite a while. And I know a lot of what's there, and that really needs to be remediated. That's the starting point of Bloody Brook. It starts there in a swamp. All the water comes down, is fed into there with no remediation at all. That goes in the oil, the tires, rubber, everything goes down through basically my brother Jeff Reese's property. Right on down to the bed, it goes through Carnegie. So yeah, I'd like to see something done along those lines, but not the roundabout.
Point of information, David, and you know this as well as I do.
We're not gonna tell old man stories now, are we?
Well, the First National was there. When I was a little kid, the First National was right there. The trailer park, the Howard Johnson, there's been activity at that corner.
I know where the
Since there was
Seafair Inn is.
dirt.
You know where the Seafair Inn is? In back of there.
What's that again?
The Seafair Inn is buried in back of there. I watched them do it.
Okay, that's one new one on me.
Well, that's where I grew up.
I thought you grew up on Fremont.
All right, let's move on.
All right, sorry. Let's move it along.
I got out of the yard a lot.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ray Berber, 25 Robin Road. I'm a little bit dismayed because this is starting to smack of the tolls again, that government's making decisions in order for a money grab. Carcieri kept the tolls out of Susquehanna for 7 years, and then finally in his 8th lame duck year, he put in a little paragraph in the budget that opened the door for tolls, and we know the rest of the story. And when we went up to the State House to testify why the tolls were a bad idea, to the House Finance Chair, who went to jail for fleecing people. So that's why there's an auditorium full of angry people, that there's maybe 24 people that are really for this thing, but several hundred against it. Like you, I tried to do some research as fast as I could. I've read the 2018 safety study. Roundabout's not even in there, not once. Not one word in that 2018 study. In fact, I was disappointed in the study. They only went as far as Sherwood. They didn't go past Sherwood down East Main, where the drag strip is in front of St. Mary's. It'll be a Pyrrhic victory. Has anybody wargamed this? Does RIDOT have computers that can model traffic? Because here's what's going to happen.
Yes, we do.
On the weeknights, from 4 to 7 p.m., it's going to be a nightmare. Monday to Friday, commuting out. The other times won't be so bad, as was previously mentioned. Middle of the night, not a problem. Weekends, maybe. Summer, it's going to be a problem. Got people unfamiliar with the area. But 4 to 6 p.m., here's what's going to happen. You're going to have 2 lanes of traffic back to the town hall. And people are going to start figuring that out, start taking left-hand turns to Headley, Stubtoe, Pine Tree, and the rest in order to avoid it. Because like there's what, 10, 15,000 cars a day come north on that road at that time. There's got to be some kind of war game. There's got to be some kind of critical analysis. In and of themselves, roundabouts are safe. Yes, I agree, but not this particular one. A problem, a new solution creates other problems, and nobody's addressed that. Has anybody war gamed it? What's the traffic count going to be like? So as the previous person said, what happens when a timid or a conservative driver going through the roundabout decides, oh, I need to go into CVS, and jams on the brakes? Are there going to be 2 lanes there, a turn lane just so you can get into CVS? What about the businesses, Patriot Upholstery and the rest on that line? Are they going to remain there? Oh, well, I'm in the inside lane. I need to go over to Griff Electric. I think it needs to be studied in great detail in terms of traffic. You really need to do that. And it may not have enough time. I understand the timing. I understand that federal funds are fleeting. I get it. But to make a decision simply for that reason is, without doing proper research, is going to hurt. I propose a couple of crazy ideas. One's not going to work, but you need one course of action you can throw away. Is put the stoplight in front of Clements on blinking yellow and see what happens. Well, okay, maybe not, but here's another one. Put a police officer there and let him direct traffic that would emulate the flow of vehicles, a couple at a time. You go. We've all been in and out of rotaries. It's a guessing game. But I'll tell you what, that's a low cost, inexpensive, easy way to figure out what it's going to look like, and especially do it Monday to Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. If you don't do some kind of modeling or experimentation, there's going to be hell to pay. Thank you.
Good evening. For those of you who won't know me on the council, my name is Jim Nada with the 3 3rd Street in Portsmouth. I'm the chairman of the zoning board in town.
I've been on the zoning board for 23 years. What makes me a little more unique to talk about this is not only am I on the zoning board, but the first 10 years of my life were on Freeborn Street. The remaining years of my life were on Immokalee Drive, the areas right now most impacted by this. I know the history of what was down there. I can tell you how we've gotten to the traffic we are today. We're no longer a farming community. And then DOT made the wise decision to put an on-ramp to Route 24 off of Turnpike Avenue. So all of a sudden, people decide, I'm not gonna go West Main Road. I'm gonna jump over to East Main Road and get on it that way. Take a look someday, 4 or 5 o'clock, how many cars coming down the hill are going left to Turnpike to get up onto 24? A lot of them. So I have some points for you to all ponder. I haven't heard or read anywhere what the level of service is at that intersection. Now, level of service in the traffic world is level A through F. As you can imagine, level A is great. I can pull out, I can do whatever I want. And a level F is, forget it. It's what we've got down there right now. That area, last I knew, was classified as a level D. Not gonna get any better. So I question, if a roundabout is put in, what's the level of service gonna be? Is it gonna maybe get up to a C? Certainly it's not gonna get to a B because the amount of traffic still flowing. There was a petition many years ago, Brooks Drugs at the time wanted to move right near CVS. Traffic experts came in. It was challenged in court. The court sided with us, the town, because they were going to bring the level of service from a D to about an F by putting one business in there. That's what was going to happen. Sat through 3 of the 4 biggest petitions in that area. The only one I never sat on was Clemens. People's Credit Union, Atria, CVS. Every one of them discussed traffic in that area and the level of service and how it is. What's interesting is back when we heard the Atria petition, its whole history, is it was combined with that open area right now, which is for sale, which is commercial property, one of the only ones left on the hill. And what was proposed to go in there was they called it similar, sort of like a New England little shopping area, like a Rentham type thing, but much smaller scale. And one of the things the board did was place a condition that the developer had to approach the state and put in a traffic light. That tied in the Food Works, Linden Tree, what was Brooks Drugs at the time, this little plaza, and tie them all into one. And that stoplight would control that. And according to a traffic expert, it would break traffic for those businesses right down from that. So you're taking the traffic coming down the hill, breaking it, then breaking it again. I know no one wants to hear another stoplight, but it was proposed. DOT wouldn't go with it because it was sort of one of these, you build it first and prove you need it. And we're sitting there going, we live in town, we know what we need. But I haven't heard anything like that taken into consideration. 2 roundabouts isn't a bad idea if you put one up the hill to break the oncoming traffic down, but that apparently is off the table too. The other thing that comes up is flooding. And flooding pre and post Clements Market. Pre-Clements Market, East Main Road used to flood right there. When the trailer park was there, Chuck, it used to flood. Clements came in and built and had to put the retention ponds in. But not only did East Main Road flood, but to the second and third house on Immokalee Drive, ours being the third, flooded. And I don't mean a little water behind the house. I mean sheet flows of water through the yards is what it was. And that water was coming from the area where People's Credit Union is now, and even further south of that, that whole parking area. So imagine all that water just coming down and going out back. Retention ponds were put in, all of a sudden, the neighboring properties on East Main Road, I know this is another issue, are not flooding anymore. East Main Road is not flooding anymore. And I understand that and I have to go with Mr. Reese because we grew up in that area. And he was kind, I'm not gonna be kind. There's a bloody landfill behind where Aquidneck Construction was. And it wasn't Aquidneck Construction that put it there. It had been one of these over the years. When the landfill was in Island Park, this was another convenient place for people to go and dump trash, garbage, oil, tires. If DOT's plan is to mitigate that water, put a sand filter and a pumping station and put it anywhere near there, they best do some test bores there to see, because you can clean it upstream all you want. When you send it downstream, if you're sending it through contaminated soil, it's going to become contaminated. And that's just the way it is. So I guess right now we have the devil we know, which is the intersection the way it is. Could it be improved? Absolutely. Could there be something else done up road from that? Another way to break traffic? Quite possibly. I don't know. I don't think studies have ever been done. I do know, or I can safely speculate on, because of some of the traffic studies I've seen, that a roundabout is not going to cure the problem or even help with it. And the only last thing I'm going to say is a question of the 2.9% accidents that happened there. And to the chief's thing, it included everything, parking lots, all that. My best guess would be, based on what I had seen from traffic studies, a lot of them were rear end accidents. People stopping, people speeding, rear end. So that's all I've got. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you make the right decision. I hate the fact that DOT kind of puts us in one of these, this or that. You got nothing. For those of you that don't have to drive the Washington Bridge tomorrow, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Minow. I'm here as attorney for Clements Marketplace. While my office is in Providence, I'm also a Portsmouth resident and one who drives through this intersection daily, so I'm very familiar. One of the council members at the last meeting, which I've now reviewed in its entirety, so I'll try to be brief, stated that this was going to have a generational impact, and it certainly will. And what hasn't changed, or what seems like it hasn't changed since that last meeting, is that DOT still is operating with this ultimatum that it's provided to the town, basically threatening to put the town down in the queue, whatever that means, whether that's 2 years or 10 years, is still unclear. And the lack of transparency, which is very troubling, remains. And had abutters and residents and business owners in town had the opportunity to review DOT's engineered plans and whatever traffic analyses had been performed, and had the opportunity to have their own engineers study those, perhaps there wouldn't be so much opposition. But we don't know what's in those plans. We don't know what traffic analyses have been performed by DOT. And to echo the prior comments, if there had been a level of service analysis or studies by DOT on future traffic impacts, you don't know what those are yet. And while we don't know what moving down in the queue means in terms of timing, I think if faced with the choice of the roundabout or waiting a few more years for improvements that everyone knows and acknowledges need to be done at some point, I think going down in the queue is the appropriate decision. And finally, there's been a lot of discussion about how these takings and impacts to the surrounding businesses, and also whatever temporary measures are put in place to direct traffic to and from those businesses may or may not affect them in the short term. But there's been something very wrong with the stakeholder engagement process. And in terms of Clements, I think the access issue is one that is extremely concerning, particularly as the roundabout construction process is underway. I don't think that there's going to be a good solution for that. And I think once the roundabout is in place, the traffic exiting Clements is going to have a difficult time entering the roundabout, as many people have noted already. And finally, stormwater mitigation could certainly account for a plan that did not include the roundabout. I think that people agree that there needs to be stormwater mitigation updates to the area. I think people are generally supportive of sidewalks and some of the other improvements discussed. So I'd urge you to listen to other constituents here that oppose this project. I think that's the right decision. And thank you.
Hey, good morning. Must be morning somewhere. My name is John Davis. My wife and I live at
John,
362.
can you just get as close to the microphone as you can?
Yes, then.
My wife and I live at
There you go.
362. Hang on. I gotta get it down here. We live at 362 West Main Road right here in Portsmouth. Have for 18 years. I don't know if you need an interpreter because I'm not from Rhode Island, so I do speak a different language. But you know, I didn't make the last meeting because I had other commitments. And I know a lot of you people sitting up there right now wish you had another commitment. So I'm just gonna, I made a few comments, and by the way, I think I'm gonna move it in with David and his wife here shortly, because we've been burning up the phone lines about this and other issues, and I appreciate them being there. And I'm gonna just put you guys right back under the gun. How many of you people have visited and been through the process of the new roundabout in Newport? Have you studied it from the start? You see, I have a little story. For 17 years, I supported people with disabilities. So I drove all over the state of Rhode Island. And I followed that project from early on. Another thing, another observation. Did you ever notice that we have the worst roads on Aquidneck Island of anywhere in the state? Yeah, yeah. The closer we get to Providence, the better the roads get, and as you get to west and so on and so forth. No.
You have the most roads.
Let me finish, Chuck. You had your turn. The thing that keeps coming up tonight, I'm ashamed of the DOT. You know, we've been talking in our schools that bullying is not allowed. And that's what's happening here tonight. You either take it or screw you. I'm sorry, I can't say that, can I? That's really what it boils down to. I feel for you guys, I really do. That's really what it boils down to. It's either our way or the highway. So I did write down a few comments, which I'm gonna get to. You know, I was an engineer for a large corporation for many years. Worked on a lot of great projects. Some of them, a lot of you people still use some of those projects. And there's a saying, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So I have studied this a great deal. I was a disaster control officer on Guam, went through hurricanes, tornadoes, been through a lot of other things in 24 years in the Navy. And here's what I've come up with. I bring you good tidings of great joy. What we need, and this is no reflection on our current law enforcement. What we need in Portsmouth is better traffic control. How do we do that? First of all, one, we eliminate all traffic from the north coming off at 24 and 138 and less those trucks are making a delivery in Portsmouth. That cuts down a hell of a lot of traffic right there. Number two, and it's been brought up several times, and I'm sure our policemen will agree, the traffic lights at that intersection have been a mess for years. And I lived here since 1970. This is not my first rodeo. I started living here in 1970. Those traffic lights need to be totally reconfigured with the proper lights, which include left and left lights. We don't need a roundabout. Thank you very much.
Good evening. You gotta get the microphone.
Yeah, you get as close as you can to the microphone, please. There you go.
That's, wait, now, okay. I am a registered professional engineer, civil engineer.
Just, we all know you, but if you could state your name and address.
Oh, that's right. Colonel John Vickers, from 58 Hudson Court. But I'm not registered anymore because my wife didn't want me to keep paying $300 every other year to the state. You know, nobody hire me. They won't hire you if you're old. But I have not studied the plans. But I was a commuter through this intersection of Turnpike and East Main Road for 32 years, going back and forth to Providence, where I was the Rhode Island College engineer. So I'll be very brief. The last time I didn't talk on this project, I talked on the transfer station. All right. So to me, the current lighting is doing a pretty good job. I mean, traffic does go through there. Sure, it's a little slow at the rush hour, but you're not going to change that too much, I don't think. So I'm perfectly happy with that light. I use it as I said, for 32 years. The second thing is, where we do need a roundabout is halfway down the hill. That's where everybody's speeding, halfway down Quaker Hill. I'd say, you know, top and bottom too, if you want to do it that way. But traffic is speeding on Quaker Hill, both going up and coming back down. And third thing is, for East Main Road, it'll never be a safe highway until we widen it. And it's up the standards. Yeah, it's expensive. Well, you could do what we did at Fort Meade, where we just did a little bit every year until it was all done. You know, they can start doing this so many 100,000 or a million a year, quarter mile, half mile every year, and eventually be done, and we have a safe highway and reduce the accidents. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Larry Fitzmaurice, 50 Kristen Court. The Portsmouth Concerned Citizens are opposed to the roundabout for a number of reasons. I must begin by saying that I have some sympathy for the position council members are in on this issue.
Could I just ask a quick, what was the vote on that motion to oppose it, PCC? And when was your meeting? Because I get your newsletter, but I wasn't aware that the meeting was going to be held. Oh, I would have been there. What was the vote?
We're a private organization. I'm not obligated to tell you.
Yeah, that's right. He can do it in private. We have to do it here. That's what you're applauding.
This is right.
Well, that's the way the Constitution is written. The issues I was going to say, I'm sympathetic with council. I think you're in a bad spot. And we've had a lot of talk about the, I guess it was January 2022 meeting in which supposedly the council had given their permission for this thing. But if that was the case, then I'm not sure why DOT is leaning on us right now. Why did they send us a letter that I felt was pretty threatening? And when they threaten you people, they threaten us. I would have wished to have seen a little bit more pushback on DOT. And I've been in the room with Mr. Peter Alabidi up at the State House in one of the House committee meetings, and I can tell you that he doesn't have a soft spot in his heart for many people. I guess as kind as I can be. In any case, this is a bad spot that we're in. We start off with secrecy. I think that if they considered the issues at DOT, they could have found a way to make this available to the public so that we could take a look at it. And we have engineers in the Portsmouth Concerned Citizens, and we could have reviewed this. This was denied to us because the documents are not available. If it were all that great, then they should have been available. And yes, I understand the issues associated with bidding, but they could have dealt with that. I fail to understand or believe that everywhere in this state, 39 communities and cities in this state, that this is the way they do business. I bet they don't elsewhere.
They do.
In any case, make a couple other comments. A vote for the roundabout is a vote by this council to support eminent domain. If you don't vote for this roundabout, there won't be any eminent domain executed in significant degree. There's a lot of this eminent domain. Now, again, we've been denied access to the plan. The 100% plan is complete. So we can't really evaluate how much, but there is a significant amount. And I would like to point out to the members of council, this council historically has had a very high reluctance to use eminent domain. And I don't remember ever using eminent domain in all the time that I've been coming to meetings. So I think that this is a long stride, and the council needs to take that into consideration, because you are essentially seizing by force people's property ostensibly for public good. But, as we all know, eminent domain doesn't always lead down the road to a public good. The Kilo case in Connecticut is a good example.
Yeah, that wasn't, you're making it up.
So I'll move on.
Good.
Business impact. We had a lot of comments and a lot of research done on this apparently since the November 30th meeting. And I've heard a lot of things that I think are positive. But one of the things you absolutely have to have is something where there's a feedback that goes on between the town council and DOT. And maybe that's in this plan, this traffic management plan, or not, I don't know. But that's one thing that's important, because that's the disruption that's going to take place with all the businesses up and down East Main Road. I go to Aquidneck Avenue in Middletown on a regular basis. And I can tell you, that's not where we want to go. That place is a disaster. It's getting better, but it's in its final phases. But that was really bad. I have a 4-wheel drive truck, and I needed it down that road. And when they go to the cuts, they didn't connect the cuts with the paving. And so a lot of people can't get through those divots into the parking lots of the businesses. Now, that's the way it is right now. All you have to do is take a look, drive down there and take a look. That's what we want to avoid. And that's what the council should ensure the DOT is lined up and designed and ready to deal with. And we don't see that yet.
Mr. Fitzmaurice, I negotiated it with the little Nissan Leaf with no problem. Went to the coffee shop, went to where I got my hair cut. Wasn't that big a deal? On Aquidneck Avenue. Let them talk.
Okay. In the last item is slowing down traffic through the use of the roundabout. I stood out there at a previous discussion about when we were talking about turning the 4 lanes on East Main Road into 3 lanes, 2 traffic lanes and 1 turning lane. And this thing clogs up real easy. I think we're very, very close to gridlock a lot of the time in the afternoon. It's already been stated. If we slow down the traffic going through this roundabout any at all, we're going to increase the number of cars in the system, and we're going to go to gridlock. If we go to gridlock, well, how are we going to fix that? And I don't think there's an alternate backup plan for what happens if the design turns out to be insufficient. So that's my remarks. I'd like to see something else there. I don't think that the council should jump at this. We can negotiate with the next governor if necessary and get a better deal. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment that on the subject of eminent domain, members of the Portsmouth Concerned Citizens who were on this council a few years ago actually approved the illegal seizure of a right-of-way in Heidi Drive. The town was therefore sued and forfeited about $750,000 because of that action that these members of the BCC were being told by town's council not to take. So we have some history in this town of ill-advised seizure of property, just saying.
My name is Michael Ayer. I reside at 181 East Main Road. I have a couple of questions for Mr. Ayer. When you say the stormwater mitigation has to go back into like planning again, are they separating out? You talk about the storm water all along East Main Road or just in that area that the roundabout would be in? That wasn't really clear.
Yeah, it's not. It's an excellent question. Bottom line is, they're going to, I'll just read to you exactly what was sent to me. When you talk to your council, you'll want to reinforce, as the director said, that we will pave the entire roadway, but it will have to be reprogrammed because we have to redesign. Follow-on question, what requires the redesign? The redesign is mostly driven by the stormwater mitigation and the drainage. So I wish I can give you more detail than that, but I can't.
Okay, so what that sounds like to me, so if we don't accept the rotary, they won't redesign our stormwater all along East Main Road? That doesn't, how does that tie?
No, that's what's going to be redesigned. The entire project, a portion of the Portsmouth project
I understand what
would have to be redesigned.
Okay, so
why are you asking the question then? It means if we change that, we have to change everything else.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Your conduct up here as a citizen and a voter in this town, your conduct to me is quite unsavory.
I appreciate it. You do have a right to speak. I would like you to keep your comments to the topic at hand, which is the roundabout. Everybody in town has their opinions about this, myself, Abbott, Brian, everybody in town has their opinions.
But when
Please
I'm
keep your
speaking,
comments.
when I'm speaking and when others are speaking, to have him make snide comments is not becoming of a council.
Correction. And make correction.
Thank you. So we get our conversation back on track.
Okay, so they want, in order for us to, if we want to get the stormwater redone all along East Main Road, we have to accept the roundabout. Is that your understanding?
My understanding is that they're standing by their design. The design as it is planned out now incorporates the roundabout, which also incorporates the stormwater mitigation, which is the drainage that will be associated, I think, with I think it's at the bank property.
Okay.
With sand filtration.
So, Mr. Hamilton, your two proposals before were what was the redoing of East Main Road along with stormwater, and then the second one was, I'm not sure what that one was.
My proposal would be twofold. One would be requests that the DOT separate the projects back out where they were before.
Which the project.
Which are repaving East Main Road from Headley Street south to Middletown Town Line.
Yep.
And then redesigning from Headley Street through the intersection.
Okay.
With both.
And
obviously they have the roundabout option at this
point.
point.
And that's not what DOT wants to do now. It's all or nothing is what they're saying.
That is what they're saying, but we haven't made that motion. Well, I haven't made a motion yet to be able to do that.
No, that's what DOT said, is they're saying that basically we have to accept what they want if we're gonna get anything.
Well, we haven't asked, well, we've somewhat asked them that, but yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to find from 2022 where they put it in here, but roughly from Raymond's Lane north to Headley Street, all of those outflows don't flow into impaired waters. So there's really no upgrade to that section or engineering that needs to be done there other than intersection improvements, which are unfortunately
The
sidewalks.
stormwater down right at the south end of town, I mean, that's not, does that affect all the way up that way too?
No.
No, exactly.
The only waters that are of concern are from the Middletown town line south that go into Maidford Brook.
Right, okay.
Which is an impaired water.
All right.
Anything from Raymond's Lane up to Headley Street does not go into an impaired water, so they didn't have to make changes to that according to their 2022 letter.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Laura Curtis. I live at 265. My name is Laura Curtis. I live at 265 Hope Street in Bristol. My office is in Newport. I live at the end of Hope Street, that it's easier for me to go over the bridge to Sharp Clements, so that is my market of choice. I haven't talked to a lot of people about roundabouts all over the country. I go there and I drive them, and I've seen them before and the after. Not a good plan. Not a good plan here. What's there is works. The retaining, going on to another subject, the retaining ponds, they work. Might not be perfect, it works. There's another point I was going to make. Gone, it went right out of my head.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah, no, I don't, because my knees are gonna buckle. I'm nervous. Anyway, my point is I drive the road regularly. I can't for the life of me figure out how a roundabout is going to alleviate any traffic, is going to slow down anything other than right at the roundabout, trying to get around it and trying to figure out which way you want to go. This is one of the lone, Rhode Island being the teeny little place that it is, it amazes me, the muck-ups we are getting into with traffic. There's the new thing, the roundabout that opened at Henderson Bridge, scary. The Appanoag thing, my first life in Rhode Island was in East Bay. Appanoag roundabout stuff, scary. And now, I'm back and forth to Providence, New York, Boston a lot. Now having my one thing that I think is a saving grace, 195, that's going to be closed down too. I'm gonna go back to Massachusetts. I don't know. That's a scary thought to me. I love it here. Anyway, my point is, I don't think this is a good solution. I'm not going to go to blame DOT for all this. I sit in, I attend, and I chair local government affairs committees. I've done that in Massachusetts, in Vermont, and New Hampshire. And I have done it here in Rhode Island. I'm not going to go blame the big bad state. I have been sitting on more city councils and town council meetings than I would care to admit to. Who I will look to is the local town committee members. You're the people that I'm going to look to. I know you are serving the town. I think it's not unique to Portsmouth. I think in many, many towns, you may be serving the town. I think you're letting the citizens go by the wayside. That's just be careful.
Good evening, my name is Marco DiMattino. I live on 192 Oakley Drive. Shout out to Mr. Knott, I saw you here earlier. Although I'm a little nervous, I don't think we get the round of applause that everybody else is getting. I'm a little confused. The people I talk with, that I'm around and I spend time with, are not as afraid and scared and worried about what's going on. I keep hearing tonight that this is a new thing. My family moved here 20 years ago It was on the discussion board 20 years ago, so I'm a little confused as to why it's new. Maybe this particular plan I didn't get the opportunity to look at, but I know that I've been to the planning board or the town planner and stuff, and I didn't particularly ask about this, but I've asked about other stuff going on in town, and they showed it to me when I came in and asked for it. I don't know about this one in particular, I'm sorry, but I don't even know if they have it because the Department of Transportation is giving it to them or what's happening. So, but I know that there's pictures up in the planning board office of everything that they were discussing tonight. So I'm not sure why I didn't know about it or nobody knew about it. I guess the reason I'm here is what other people said earlier. You guys have been paying way more attention, way more time. You live in town, you drive the same town that I do. We all do that intersection every day. We know what it's like. If you spent this time, I trust you guys and I'm encouraged in what you've done so far. So keep doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Forecast 3241 East Main Road, I've spoke, and I don't know if anybody behind me hasn't. I'd like to give them the.
Yeah, there's some people who haven't.
I spoke last meeting.
There is,
Jump up here.
My name is Thomas Ayer. I'm at 297 Turnpike Avenue, but I grew up on East Main Road, so I'm on both sides of it, interestingly enough. And I went through that intersection every day going to high school. It's not ideal. Most of East Main Road isn't, so I understand the concern. However, I don't see how this is all that great of an idea. So does RIDOT actually recommend this? Or did they only design it because that's what we asked for in this town plan that we put together 20 years ago that, in my opinion, doesn't really make sense anymore because this isn't a downtown area. It's a main artery on and off the island. So is that still actually relevant? And does RIDOT actually think that's the best solution or just because we asked for it? So I guess really that's my main point, along with a lot of the discussion about sidewalks and slowing down traffic and walking and all these things. That's great. We need to have some of that. But how many people are actually walking down there? Where are they parking? Where are they going to? If you're parked at Clements, you're going to Clements, you're already there. Right? I mean, you know, there's just a lot going on that we're very focused on a lot of things that I don't, you know, this is a main thoroughfare on and off the island that we need to be very concerned about. And a traffic light, I hate traffic lights, 100% agree with that. But I don't know if this is really best. And I'm really curious if RIDOT actually does recommend it or just because we asked for it, that's what they gave us.
The answer is yes, they recommend it.
Okay.
Their engineers recommend putting in the roundabout.
Okay. And if that's what it is, then I guess, has there been studies about traffic impacts from during construction and after construction, what the expectations are? Because a lot of this information I looked for a lot and I couldn't find much of anything. A lot of RIDOT's details are not detailed.
For lack of a better term, to use a phrase from an illustrious Speaker of the House, we have to pass the plan so we can see what's in it. So DOT won't put out, they're still in the process of doing their traffic management plan. They won't go forward until there's an answer from this council, yea or nay. Because they don't want to waste any more time if they're going to just shelve the project.
I appreciate your concern, but I will tell you that we're not inventing the wheel here. There have been roundabouts done, not only in Rhode Island, not only in the country, not all over the world. And they've studied the impact they have on traffic, not only while they're in operation, but as they're being put together. So it's not new.
No, of course it's
Okay.
not. There's a level of traffic where it's too little for a roundabout and too much for a roundabout. Right in the middle is the sweet spot. I don't know where we're at. If the engineers are recommending that, then there's, you know, that's all I can say. But it seems to me that this is a huge decision being made here by people that are not experts and by, you know, a constituency without a lot of information because of reasons that RIDOT, you know, is. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paul Kesson, 3241 East Main Road. So what I've learned tonight is only two things.
One is we can't currently, we have problems getting cars through the intersection, and that comes from the planning board, which is local knowledge. I'm surprised I haven't heard any information of that from any of the councils. The only second thing I've heard, well, actually, the other thing I heard was Don Clements from Clement Mark actually partnered with the state to take away, to reserve his land, to put in ponds, to eliminate the flooding at the bottom of the hill. And the flooding comes from Dexter Street, the library, probably all the way to Jones on East Main Road, which is 10 times more impervious surface than they have in their own parking lot. So congratulations to Clements for helping the state clean up their act. What I learned from Mr. Hamilton, and it's the only thing we've gotten out of this group, is that they plan to put a filtration system in the middle of the roundabout.
No.
No.
In the bank property.
In the bank property.
They moved it out of the roundabout, put it into the bank property.
Because I thought I heard you say it was in the roundabout.
Nope, it's in the bank property. So that was one of
my
my
ears
questions.
didn't work, but it sounds like it's the wrong place to put it. Again, we also learned from the planning office that in fact the discharge is behind and collected and is behind equipment construction. And I don't know if you're ever gonna get, and I don't know whether they've done the analysis, but the state owns an awful lot of land between East Main Road and West Main Road to do this filtration. I'm not sure you have to do it at the bottom of Quaker Hill. They only have to clean it up by the time it enters the bay. And I'm not into taking people's property. I think a better solution is not to impact the businesses that are here, especially the ones that you've already partnered with. Because they take drain water, waste, stormwater from the town piece of property halfway up the hill, and from the, is it Henry Danis Drive? So, you know, to me, it doesn't make sense to impact all of this. It sounds like it can still be done with lights. I was surprised that anybody on the council didn't pick up that there'd be a road improvement in flow through. But I want to go back to one question because the fire chief is here. And again, we've crashed one fire truck at the bottom of the hill. Tommy Camaro was on it, probably, God rest his soul, I think it was John Martin on it also. But I'm only worried about me because I'm north of this intersection, okay? This is the major response, emergency response from the town to the north end of the island. Okay, I only care about me. Already had a heart attack, don't want another one. What is the length of time that extends out when the large fire truck and or ambulance has to go down Headley Street, out onto 24 and come back through town the other way? Because when you lose control of this intersection to a roundabout and don't have the lights, I want to know how long I gotta lay on the ground and wait for you guys to show up.
There's no study that I know of, any official documentation or review of it. But I would say if there's a roundabout at the bottom of the hill and anyone, if we're traveling north of Clements, we're going through the roundabout. We're not gonna go down Headley and West Main Road and around the way. Now, there may come a point in time during construction, a certain day, a certain period, like anything else that we can't get through. We recently had an accident there and the reconstruction team had the intersection blocked off for hours. So we have to make adjustments. But if a roundabout goes in there or the traffic light goes in there, either way, I mean, the traffic light is there. If it stays the way it is or a roundabout goes, that's not gonna change our response as far as how we're getting there.
Can I ask you a quick question? Does the DOT Does the DOT normally take into account or try to take into account emergency vehicles coming through their construction?
I have no idea what they consider, what they don't consider in their operations.
Have they blocked
They
you?
don't call me and ask me, so.
Okay, thank you.
So again, we've heard from our safety guy that he's gonna go through the intersection. Right now, he can stop all traffic. He can go into the oncoming traffic and get through the intersection. I don't think that's gonna happen with 15,000 cars. There's gonna be nowhere to go. I don't think, I don't believe that there are sidewalks behind the old package store, Burke's Bakery. I don't believe that striped as a sidewalk, is it? That used to be parking.
In front of it, yes. I believe they count that as a side, I wouldn't count it as a sidewalk, but I believe they do.
But isn't that parking today?
No, most of the parking's out back of that now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no more guerrilla marketing with women and lingerie.
Thank you very much for your time.
Clements Marketplace. I just want, I realized that there were comments made about how, you know, you'd make contingencies or work on contingencies to help the businesses. It's not just business loss, and we will experience it. And the concern, yes, Keith, I know that, you know, any disruption is a disruption, but a roundabout and the construction cycle of that roundabout, if it's on time, is tremendous. And it affects more than just the business because it trickles down. It affects the employees. And back to what I had mentioned 10 days ago, you know, the different things that we support the town with donations and, you know, sponsorships and all those things. It's not good for business. I know we will have to work through construction, and that's fine. We're up for that. We're not up for a prolonged time period. Another point I just wanted to bring up from 10 days ago, Mr. Kasman brought up that 22 to 25% of roundabouts do not work in some of his closing statements of information. With East Main Road being only one of two main arteries on and off this island, 22 to 25% that this could fail has to weigh heavy on your decision. And I know most of your decisions are made already, but you have to consider these things. If you approve a roundabout and it fails, we're in a world of trouble. What are you going to do? They're not taking it back out. I just want to, you know, I know there was talk about there's community engagement, and I believe that RIDOT said stakeholders were involved. There was much engagement with stakeholders. I am the major stakeholder. I know there are other people that have eminent domain being taken from them, but I believe the property they're taking from me is more than probably all theirs combined. I have not been engaged by RIDOT. The first time I heard from RIDOT was when they walked into the store on April 28th and said, can you tell Tracy that there's a meeting up at the town hall on May 3rd of 2023, 6-7 months ago. And we're gonna talk about this roundabout we're putting in. That's the first time. I did not have any meetings with them. I wasn't invited to any workshops. So if they're going off of what happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when I sat on a committee that I think I explained to all of you that I was there so I could be involved and know what was going to happen if I had concerns. That's not accurate. I was not engaged in any process until they showed us what was happening. And I immediately sent a letter and responded to them saying, you know, mentioning all the concerns I have. The last point I want to make is that Rhode Island has 18 roundabouts. Not one of them involves the entrance to a retail business. I don't want to be the first one and be their guinea pig.
Mary McDowell, 94 Point Road. I think we're very fortunate tonight to have our three legislators here. And I guess I would love to hear them weigh in on this if they choose to do so. I think they're all Portsmouth residents. and I think it would be important for us to hear from them on what their thoughts are. Also, if they choose to weigh in, I would love to hear what kind of help we may be able to get from them going forward in terms of this do or die situation with DOT. Either you take our roundabout or you don't get your East Main Road paved. So I'd love to hear.
I'm Sue Hawes, and I live at 187 Echo Drive in Portsmouth. And I was here at the last meeting and I wanted to speak, but
Keep looking over and
That's better.
when you look over, you lose the mic.
oh, sorry. I'm in favor of the roundabout. I believe it's the right thing to do. We need to slow the traffic down. People speed everywhere. They speed down Quaker Hill. I live near Fairview Avenue light, and it's horrendous. But I think roundabouts have been proven to slow traffic down. They keep the traffic moving. People have to pay attention when they're on a roundabout. They have to yield, they have to wait, they have to use their turn signals. That doesn't happen anywhere with traffic signals. And I think it's a good thing because the world is just getting more impatient and people love to speed and they're in a rush. And we have so much traffic on the island that I'm definitely in favor of a roundabout. I do have feelings of distress for people like Tracy, who absolutely will incur probably revenue loss. And I would like to be maybe part of the solution with Abbott, when you describe, maybe a grassroots movement to help local businesses. But Dr. Ryan, you spoke about a few major points. We do have a big problem at that intersection. It's horrible. We have a terrible road, East Main Road. It needs to be repaved. We don't really have sidewalks there. I mean, there are some there, but I wouldn't, they need to be redone. This project will take care of these three things, if I understand it correctly. I didn't think that they could repave the road without the roundabout. It just didn't make sense. There's going to be problems. I hope that everybody can work together and try and resolve them. But we are now at the top of the list at RIDOT to get some of this infrastructure money, correct? And
yes.
If we don't accept it, then we go back down to the list, and it might be another 10 or 20 or 30 years before something is done. And I don't think that's a smart thing to do. I understand the concerns of Mr.
Gleason.
Mr. Hamilton, and they're valid. But if we lose this opportunity, I think we'll regret it. There's only one other thing that I wanted to mention is that the speed of the cars. People love to speed and they love to go through yellow lights, and I've done it myself. I've gone through red lights, and I'm not proud of it, but I have.
You know the police chief is right there.
You get a dispensation tonight.
I have a Honda CRV. I don't go very fast.
I wouldn't say that.
But I would like to point out, and I put it in an email. I don't know if you guys read it. There's a lot of electric vehicles coming in the world today. They go very fast, and the drivers love to go fast. I will tell you what I wrote them. I was at the intersection at Clements. I was going north. I was stopped, and there was a Tesla S at the light at Clements at the exit. When I saw that car take off, it went so fast that I saw the driver's hair swing back. I'm not exaggerating. Her car window was not open. What, I don't know how to figure out, physics and how fast she was going to make that happen. But the truth is that people rush to get through the yellow lights. They don't want to stop. And now we have the problem of people driving electric vehicles who will speed up and go 30 miles per hour in 2 seconds once that light turns green. So you have cars going really fast when the light turns green, and you have cars coming really fast going the other way. We need to avoid these collisions that can be fatal. We're going to have some accidents there, but I think the speed is about 30 miles per hour in a roundabout. They have to pay attention. They have to yield. They are supposed to use their turn signals. And if they do this, then I think it will work. And I think traffic will proceed. It will slow down. And I'm looking forward to it slowing down. And I think it will slow down as the cars come down Quaker Hill. Because I don't know what's going to happen, but usually there'll be signage at yield, roundabout ahead, slow down. Maybe people will actually go 25 miles per hour down Quaker Hill. They're going to be forced to go slow. And that's what we want. We want the traffic to proceed, but we want them to go slow. We want them to stop speeding. We have children. My kids are grown, but when they were learning to drive, I said, don't you dare go through the light until you really make sure at Fairview that the other cars have stopped. And I think this will help. I would like to see more roundabouts. And also, one thing that I did read, I guess it's true, in the late 1990s, there were 150 roundabouts in the United States. And now there are more than 7,000. That's a 4,666% rate of increase. That tells you something, doesn't it? And also, new developments are not putting in lights at intersections. They are putting in roundabouts. And suburban areas like ours, when they replace an intersection that has lights, it's pretty much with a roundabout now. It just works. I'm totally in favor of it. And my husband said, don't get up there, you're gonna get shot. But
Thank you very much.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And tell your husband shut.
Tom Grieve, 110 Thayer Drive. The people at RIDA are the traffic experts. RIDA has put into writing on their Facebook page that they designed a roundabout at Portsmouth request. It was not their initiative. They also write that they are indifferent, their word, indifferent about whether the roundabout is installed or not. They clearly do not see a compelling advantage to this roundabout for traffic safety or throughput. Otherwise, the professional statewide traffic and safety organization would recommend it be installed on the state road rather than simply leave the decision to 6 elected people who are not traffic experts.
Mr. Grieve, that's not true. That letter was written in
That it's not true or accurate. Do you care? It's on the website.
I know, but it was written after we turned them down and said it was their fault. And they wrote saying, we're not the ones who did this.
It's still a true statement.
It's inaccurate.
It is not inaccurate at all. It's a true statement. They say that they are
Inaccurate.
different. I also feel our local first responders having control of the lights at that intersection is a much better arrangement. That through quickly and safely compared to entering a roundabout full of cars, which they have no control of. If the experts are not promoting this project, why would the council vote for it? It harms our local businesses. It forces even more traffic onto West Main Road, which is already the most congested and dangerous road. Why spend such a large amount of money when it could be better spent elsewhere? The RIDOT experts are indifferent. What more do you need to hear? One thing I do think should be tried is changing the Clements Light Works lights to work as some people have suggested. That would eliminate any possible confusion at that intersection. That solution works quite well for Dunkin' Donuts at West Main and Stringham Road, a very similar intersection. Thank you.
Point of information. That letter was written in the aftermath of the Thursday meeting when everyone in this room was yelling about the DOT. Can you hear me or you just? When everyone was yelling about the DOT. That's at least when I saw it. And they said,
you saw it.
They
sir.
said we would.
Sir, let me interrupt you. That may be
Go ahead.
you saw it. But that was put on the website as their excuse. They are indifferent to whether or not.
And when was it put on the website?
It doesn't matter. They are indifferent.
They were indifferent because we blamed them for shoving it down.
Mr. President.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, listen, excuse me. I would like to.
Shut him up once in a while.
I've tried. I would like, Mr. Green and Ms. Levesque, can we please? No, we are getting back on the topic of the roundabout and East Main
And we are
Road.
on the topic of.
And
roundabout.
let's
And
be
he is-
civil.
He is maligned my.
He has a
by
difference
saying
of opinion.
that I was lying, and I was not.
Did you say the word?
I said you were inaccurate.
You said
I
it.
didn't say you were
What's the
lying.
difference?
Let's move on, please. Let's move on.
No way. Hey,
Mr.
Peter.
Roberts.
Peter Roberts, 80 on Ron Avenue. The last time I was here, I mentioned something, I'm gonna bring it back up, because I got something else to tell you. This, we're gonna put this,
Just go to the microphone, Pete.
where they're gonna put this rotary. One lane is extremely heavy going up the hill. And the other lane going up the hill has hardly anything in it. If you don't have a traffic light there, that lane that goes all the way past Town Hall will never stop. Now I'm gonna bring up something else. See this coat right here? Tri-State Signal, the company I work for in Massachusetts. And there were times when they were doing rotaries. And this company would go in and take the lights out. There were times when there were intersections, they had us put the lights in because one lane was too heavy. And they knew once they would do it, it would never work. And once you put it in, you're gonna be in hard times because you're gonna put the light back in. Now, do you understand enough, if that traffic is going all the way past Town Hall and there's no light there, who's gonna stop it? Somebody gonna run out in traffic? That lane is never gonna stop. You'll never be able to turn into Clements. You'll never be able to leave Clements because that one particular lane, 2 times a day, will never stop. Do you understand? Do you understand this?
Peter, are you talking about the road from Turnpike going up?
Oh,
Quaker
you're
Hill?
gonna draw a picture for you, idiot?
Excuse me, no. We've had enough of name calling around the room.
He's got permission, he's related to
And
me.
you won't stop
I would
me,
like to,
but you
I
won't
would
stop
like,
me.
I would, you asked the question of the
Can we ask-
council,
can
I'm
we ask
currently
the
chairing the
chief? Can we
council.
ask the chief?
But
Answer
Peter,
that question.
No.
If one lane is that long, will it ever stop on the road?
I'm a traffic
He's
engineer.
not a traffic engineer.
One, would you repeat the question?
The one lane coming down the hill is always up to, Town Hall.
Oh, okay.
Now, the lane on the right, that keeps going, goes up, East Main Road. But the other lane, if the traffic's that long and there's no traffic light there, will it ever stop coming around the rotary and let other people in?
Not until the traffic decreases in that situation.
That's the situation. Thank you very much. Now, how can that be good for anybody? And you're talking about how good this will be. Nobody will be able to go through that light, that rotary, because that lane of traffic will not stop. Now, you can go down to the rotary on Connell Highway. And when certain traffic is heavy, you're not moving out of where you're sitting. I've seen that for years, especially when I used to go to the Navy base. You have to sit there. There's no other way. And when I worked for this company, that's what they tried to stop. If there was one lane that was too long, they made sure they never put a rotary in there. Now, has the Department of Transportation told you this? They'll tell you all about it. And you can figure out, just go down there and look up that hill. If the traffic's that long and there's no light, how are you going to stop that lane of traffic from coming through? You're not going to. So think about it.
Boardman, Rhode Island Boulevard. Has DOT told you what year they may have done this traffic study? And have they done alternate years to find out how much the traffic volume has increased? And also, to add to that, what the capacity of this rotary is? How soon will it be outdated? Will it be 5 years, 10 years? Have they taken any of that into consideration in the design? Or have they left you with no information whatsoever?
I believe there have been traffic assessments at several points in time over the course of decades, going back to 2010, 2020, in between. I've seen in the Rise Stars report, traffic information. I've seen so yes. And is it have they designed it to be obsolete soon? I don't know. What we have down there is obsolete now, but.
Yeah, well, the intersection works, but traffic has definitely increased dramatically over the past 10 years. Just make sure that you got the study, that's all.
Thank you.
149 Canal again. I want to point out earlier when I spoke, and that is discussing pedestrians. I noticed right now you cross from Clements across 4 lanes of traffic using the traffic control button that's at that site. If you look at the plans for the rotary, there are nothing to stop the traffic except to step into a crosswalk at the peril of your life during rush hour or after dark. How was that? How was a pedestrian talking sidewalks if they can't get to the other side because of the traffic? Is only going to have to see them and stop both directions, all roads, to get across. And I think that is not something that was covered well at all in that place.
Kevin Fennessy, 2774 East Main Road. I have been driving that road for 50+ years, and that intersection, to me, is not a dangerous one. It is only dangerous because of the traffic that's coming down Quaker Hill at an excessive rate of speed constantly. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I drove down the hill today, coming back from Warwick, and to avoid traffic in Providence, I came over the bridges. Cars, I was going, and if you have your cuffs, chief, you might want to get them out. I was probably going maybe a little bit over 30 miles an hour. A huge truck past me had to be going approximately 50 miles an hour coming down the hill. And all the other cars, I was the only car that was not being passed. And talking about traffic safety at that intersection,
have we ever, I mean, when you get to a stoplight, you're stopped. There's no going until the light changes unless you're breaking the law. But when you get to a roundabout, you are trying to get into that roundabout as quickly as you possibly can. And you're going to do things that might not be within the realm of common decency or driving decency.
Well, you're up on the radar now, you know, they all know who you are.
Well, the chief knows who I am anyway, for other reasons. We won't get into them this evening. But thank you, Charles, for pointing that out. You're very kind in your remarks, but I've been in roundabouts for years, on, in different areas of this state and in other states, and it's always the same. When you have a large backup of traffic, once that line begins to get into the roundabout, there ain't nobody else is going to get in until that line progresses all the way through. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Thank you.
My name is John Bukevich. I live at 119 Hummock Avenue in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. I want to thank the 6 counselors, Mr. Reyna, and everybody here, because you're just acting as the messengers right now. But you live here like we do. Biggest problem I think the island has, we only have 2 roads, West and East Main Road. And I remember the CCRI presentation about the 3 roundabouts. And I was the one that asked the question when they were going to do the 3 roundabouts on East Main Road, where was the traffic going to go? Oh, over to West Main Road. Well, if anybody travels West Main Road, we know what that's like already. I think there's 40,000 cars a day on that road. This roundabout at this intersection at this time is not needed. I have to say it simply, it's not. That is a fixable intersection with a lot less expense, a lot less time, and a lot less inconvenience to the businesses in the area. Thank you. And I hope that you guys recognize that this is our community. You're part of it, all right? And we all have to get along. And I'm not a traffic engineer, right? But we've all gone through this intersection. We know what this intersection is. And I just don't feel that it's going to be beneficial. Oh, unknowns. There's too many unknowns. And then the next thing, will the closing of the Washington Bridge on the west side tomorrow for the next 4 months, will that take money away from us? I mean, is the money that they have, that DOT has for this project? And that's another thing. They did the Washington Bridge in 1985. Do the math. Now they have a critical problem with the Washington Bridge on the westbound side. So now I hope it's going to be 100 years old in 6 years. Okay, so I'm sorry that DOT is not impressing me right now. And the fact that DOT did not want to come here and put on the dog and pony show that I asked about 10 days ago, 11 days ago, that bothers me as well. Thank you.
Steve Moran, 334 Carriage Drive. I haven't seen any update on the traffic count on RIDOT's website. The oldest thing is 2016 where it says 7,000 daily turn count. Does anybody have what it really is?
24th, oops, Don, sorry. Maybe here we go. Their update from 2022 is 24,800 cars, so roughly 25,000 cars a day.
Okay, I was on the town website, the GIS there, where you kind of can measure that website, the intersection there, which is probably about 10,000 square feet. There's a formula that they use that determines how much acreage you're going to need for a roundabout. So if you look at that plan, how much acreage is that going to take? So for a center island, say 175 to 250, you're going to need close to an acre of acreage for a roundabout. So talking about eminent domain, I don't know how they can put something in there unless it's big enough. It's going to be an acre or slightly large. Anyway, that's just a, so you might want to consider is look at how much acreage that's going to take. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Erin Marie McCarty,
Yeah,
22
yeah,
Depot
if
Avenue, Portsmouth, Rhode Island. Is that better? everyone?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but if you just grab it and point it down at you, that's it, that's
That
perfect.
might work.
There we go. Thank you for all of your time. Many have answered my questions on social media regarding whether you would like this or not. One of the major concerns is A, the space, the size, and also is it appropriate for this area? I have driven through 4 roundabouts today in my travels. It is not going to be successful in this area for several reasons. One of the reasons is that the road itself requires attention, and it is not going to slow down traffic. However, cameras with fines will slow drivers down the minute you hit their pockets. And some of that money can be used elsewhere for our town. RIDOT is trying to ask you to make a decision on something and hide back the plans. I think that you should make an informed decision for the members of the town. Thank you.
President, I move the question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I might wrap it up here. Gary Havron, 19 Karen Street. Good enough?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Let's hang on a statement that I heard earlier. 22 to 25% of roundabouts don't work. You know, if I were going to design a house, I get an architect to come. He does architectural plans for me, and he brings them to me, and he sets them down in front of me, and then he leaves the room. And to your point, Mr. Katz, I don't know how to read architectural plans. And so I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay, am I going to spend a couple of $100,000 on something I don't understand? And you know, I take a little bit of offense to the comment that DOT is doing us a favor. Well, the fact is that they didn't come and explain to you what the plans were all about. They didn't sit with you and say, well, this is what this is about, and this is what that's about, and what's your question about this? So you didn't get the scoop. Now, back to the 22 and 25% that they don't work.
I want to point out, I believe those numbers came from me. I don't know if anybody else mentioned that.
No, you did.
That was not, that was what I gleaned by some, that's not a statistic I would quote. That's what I read anecdotally. They were great, they were great, they were great. Nah, they don't. They were great, they were great, they were great. No, they don't. So just my anecdotal observation.
Okay.
So just so you know.
Okay, some don't
I
work.
hear this number thrown around as though it's like now gospel. It's not. My apologies for that.
No, I did not have that information clearly. Look, some probably don't work. And so
that was my point.
With that being said, I have a proposal. When they put this roundabout in, can we put a plaque up memorializing every one of your names who voted for it?
Happily,
okay,
happily.
Because honestly, a year, 2 years from then, we might all be out looking at that plaque and looking at your names. So just think about the gravity of your decision.
In the town hall, you'll see my name on the building committee that built it.
I got you, Mr. Levesque.
Levesque, thank you.
I would just also urge you to not look at the plaque when you're driving on the rotary.
Right. Morning for them.
So,
Good evening. My name is Andrew Richter,
Gotta raise it a little
That's
bit. Thank you, Mr. Richter.
and I live on Turnpike Avenue. And it's a challenge getting out of my driveway. There's no way that I can back out onto Turnpike Avenue, get killed. And Turnpike Avenue already has traffic calming measures on it. It's got a double yellow line in the middle and a white line on the side. There's only one lane in each direction. All the traffic passes on the right. Every single day. I cannot pull in my driveway without somebody passing, even if I'm towing a boat. And so it's a problem that it's not enforced, the traffic violations on Turnpike Avenue, which would help to slow down the traffic, because every time somebody has to turn, the rest of the traffic has to stop rather than passing them on the right, or sometimes in the third lane. Anyway, that's my concerns with Turnpike Avenue. East Main Road, I think we can all agree that the traffic is pretty dangerous. It drives fast, there's people's driveways. I think it's technically called a strode. In other words, it was a street at one time and it was changed to a roadway, so it doesn't have limited access like a highway. And so when you have excessive traffic and excessive speed, is that it gets more dangerous. So add to that is that we don't have adequate sidewalks or anything for pedestrians. You won't see anybody walking down that road because they're, you know, in the winter, they're walking in the snow. In the summertime, they're going up and down over people's driveways and ruts and rocks. It's impossible. And now we have more people that are using e-bikes and bicycles and everything. So the pressure to improve the road is significant. I don't think it's going to help anybody to wait. I know that the DOT does their best with what they have to support the communities that they serve. They're kind of easy targets for us to pick on because they don't have that many people defending them. The roundabout, I don't know if it's going to help or not. I'll still probably won't be able to back out on the driveway, which I haven't ever done. And I tell people to turn around on the lawn. Do not try and back into that road. As far as East Main Road goes, is that we need to approve it now. If we wait, it's not going to get any better. They're not going to want to improve. They're not going to want to fix the potholes for 2 years or 5 years or whatever. It's not going to help us. I consider it a small step for the town to move forward. And yes, I know that rotaries have a stigma about them as being difficult. They're not. They're really easy. You just follow the rules. When you come down to a rotary like that, is that the difference between a rotary and a stoplight is that there's 2 or 3 cars moving all the time in the rotary, if necessary. The traffic coming down the hill will fill the rotary if it's a nonstop row of traffic. But there's other lights up on East Main Road. There's breaks in the action. Clements Market, who's been very generous with this town, there was no doubt about it, is going to have an impact. During the construction, they stated that there was only going to be 500 feet or 500 meters or whatever of significant construction at a time. So it's not going to be 2 years that they're impacted. And it's going to be a shorter period of time that they have significant impact. All of us are going to be impacted. And I don't think there's any way around it unless we kick it down the road to somebody else. I think if the state wants to give us $32 million, is that I'm reaching out my hand.
Both hands.
Both hands. And I know it's not popular. I know that, you know, it's a little controversial and people have their own opinions. And I respect that. I understand that that's really important. But from my point of view is that the safety of the roads, it's important. The cleanliness of the water going into the bay is important. The entrance to Clements Market is really important. It's between them and People's Credit Union, they're 1/4 of that intersection. So they would have the benefit of being in the town center, but they also have this restriction. I believe that the zoning for town center is with the permission of the town council, what you can build in the town center. Now, I don't know if that's the zoning at Clements, but I know that was the zoning across the street. So all things considered is that, you know, I think that everybody should try to be nice to Clements and be nice to the DOT and the town council for working real hard. And we do appreciate your work.
Thank you very much. It is now 9:30. We have business we have to conduct and complete by 10 o'clock after this issue. So there's 2 people lined up to speak now. Those will be the last speakers. And if you keep your remarks succinct, we would all appreciate it. And then we'll turn it back over to the council. Go ahead.
Siobhan Thurston, 664 Union Street. It's my understanding that East Main Road needs to be fixed. We all know that to some extent. I do not believe that the roundabout is the right answer. I do know that Clemens has been a good steward. It was already reported that Immokalee the water was mitigated through their water channels. Am I correct then? That was Clemens did that for us. And we're going to turn around and possibly have them lose their business, which is the only shop in town. I feel that you've missed an opportunity to change the calibration of the lights, which doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't make you beholden to the RIDOT. They're saying all or nothing. I think we go down in the queue. If we wait 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, which it won't be, because there's obviously passion here. If we can rally this passion to get East Main Road fixed, we can do it. But the roundabout is the wrong thing. There's so much traffic. It will be continuous. It will never stop, even during those times between 3:30 and 6:30 when it's horrific.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mary Beth McDonald. I live at 115 Cottage Avenue. I wasn't gonna get up and say anything, but I felt motivated to just say something. I am concerned about having a roundabout in front of Clemens Market. I do my shopping there. I do my banking at the People's Credit Union. And I think the road needs work. I think that the traffic needs to be addressed, the speed going up and down the highway towards Middletown. But I also agree that possibly this could be addressed with looking at the traffic lights in front of Clemens Market, trying to address it that way. And as opposed to doing something that we're not really sure whether it's going to fix the problem, as well as the fact that knowing that this would be the first roundabout that would have a business that would be part of the roundabout, where you would be in the roundabout and then entering into a parking lot to do your business at the grocery store. I think I heard correctly that there is no roundabout in our state that has that problem. Is that true? Did I hear that tonight? That this would be the first one that would have to encompass a large business that our town depends upon? And,
That is what we heard.
Yeah.
I don't personally have knowledge other than what was reported to us.
Yeah, actually, looking at the map of Apponaug, looking at the map of Apponaug, one of their roundabouts has Dunkin' Donuts and Honeydew Donuts. Another one has Vanda Italian Restaurant, the Veiled Crow, whatever that is, and Sisters Chinese, I presume that's a restaurant. So there are at least 2 rotaries in Apponaug that do have businesses on them. How they're affected by it, I couldn't tell you.
And we don't really know what the traffic situation is in that particular area, knowing that, hearing people's comments about the island having 2 main ways of getting off and on the island. I mean, this is a very busy road that you're putting a roundabout with a big business that is busy during the day. Anyway, I just felt like I needed to get up and speak my concerns about that, and also ask you to consider looking at the traffic light and seeing if you can do something creative that would help solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not taking, we can't take any more public comment. We've taken that comment now for 3 hours, I think. We have other business that has to be conducted before the end of the calendar year. This is our last meeting, and we have to close up shop at 10, I believe. So that is one of the reasons why.
Mr. President, I move the question.
We have a motion on the floor.
It's already,
Moving the question. The motion is, and I'm looking at it from the, as you put it on the agenda, Mr. Levesque, to rescind the vote of November 30, 2023, to request additional information and substitute in its place a motion to respond in the affirmative to the proposal to construct a roundabout as indicated in the letter of November 22, 2023 from DOT. That's the motion.
I seconded already.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay, don't put my name on the plaque.
The motion passes 4-2 with one abstention.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a secondary motion.
Excuse me, I just want to correct the record, one recusal. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a secondary request or a motion of a request that when DOT is doing their traffic management plan, that they include opening up a second exit from Clements into Amokley and install a temporary light so that there's easier access in and out during the construction process.
Second.
Can I comment?
Certainly have
If you look at the
an
plans, you don't have to do that in Oakley. You could put a temporary light and use the other entrance to Clements, but I think it's a valid,
The one way.
Excuse me, let her speak.
that's one of the comments that I wanted to discuss with Leah that I think we can bring to ride up, but I'm not sure airing out design changes right now is a good idea.
But with the having an access on Amokley and opening that entrance up the way it should have been done.
It's not on the agenda.
I would, well, what's on the agenda is
It is the roundabout
discussion regarding payment improvements. I would
And
support
this
that
is-
motion if it's been seconded.
Mr.
If for
President
no,
seconded it.
if for no other reason, then I think it's a good conversation to initiate.
It also allows access for folks coming down into Water Street and Amokley to get in there easily.
Let me ask you, is the motion to express the opinion of the council that that would be good?
It's to request that they do it.
I would not support that. We are not in a position of telling them this. I would say I am more than happy to support a motion that says it is the expressed desire of the council that there be another entrance to Amokley, if that's what you want.
Well, to Clements.
To Clements, whatever it was you wanted.
I want a secondary access out onto Amokley or in from Amokley with a light temporarily at Amokley during.
And you want that as a direction to the?
Yes.
I won't vote for it.
Okay. All I need is 4.
I don't.
It's a safety feature and a flow feature.
Any other further discussion? There's a motion and a second.
It's
All
certainly
those-
worth discussing.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1 and with one
So we're back in the
recusal.
business of telling DOT what to do.
And with that,
Have you guys figured that out yet?
is President Aguirre still in the house? There he goes. We'll move on now to a public hearing to request approval for proposed amendments to chapter 215 of the town code entitled Harbor Master Ordinance.
I move approval.
Seconded.
Wait for Kevin to follow.
Haley, you having fun yet? Scared now, aren't you?
Sorry.
I'm changing my time, I'm changing my mind.
I'll just let Danielle.
Lisa, I'm glad you wore your boots.
Danielle's gotta go.
Always prepared. Kevin, just put it on the record.
Public hearing for the Harbor Master Ordinance, new business 1, public hearing. So it is a public hearing.
Yep.
And-
Just
we
before
got
we
our
get
boys.
started, I just want to make a note that Councilor Abbott is left for the evening. Councilor Abbott has left for the evening. She had to go. So we're going to continue on with the public hearing. Are there
This is a public hearing on chapter 215 entitled Harbor Master Ordinance, Article 7, mooring and outhaul regulations, section F, commercial mooring application procedures, subsection 2, renewal permit applications to change the dates starting in 2024. Are there any comments on the proposed?
I make a motion that we approve it.
Oh, you have to. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
I move that we approve the proposal as presented.
Motion made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. The next item under new business is ratification of appointment of finance director. Mr. Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. President. In accordance with the Portsmouth Town Charter, I hereby submit my request for your ratification of the appointment of Ms. Kayla Martson of Fall River, Massachusetts as our finance director. I do so without reservation after observing her performance in our finance department and as our town accountant for more than 2 years. As you know, the former finance director, Mr. Ryan Kilpatrick, notified the town in October of 2023 of his intention to resign and accept a new position as Chief Financial Officer for the South Kingston School Department. Kayla is currently acting as our interim finance director. I believe she is a superb choice for Portsmouth. She is intimately familiar with our chart of accounts, has managed the town budget, has participated in 2 audits, and has demonstrated an excellent understanding of generally accepted accounting principles for state and local governments. Kayla will be a fine addition to our management team. For over 2 years, she has demonstrated excellence in accounting, exceptional supervisory skills, fiscal acumen, and an investigative mindset. She holds a degree in accounting from the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth. I've observed her to be adept in financial management and analysis, budgeting, contract management, financial report writing, and strategic planning, and she is ready for this appointment and promotion. I'm convinced that she possesses the educational background, professional expertise and experience, and moral integrity to successfully lead our finance department, and I respectfully ask for your concurrence.
Motion to approve the appointment.
Mr. President, I would actually move that we grant approbation, as is the role of the council in this matter, to the administrator's choice for the new finance director.
Second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
For all that, she stayed tonight.
Well, we had no choice.
If you had left, we would have had a lot of questions. That's late.
Right. The next item, number 3. It's a request approval of the proposed changes to the 2024-2025 Prudence Island Transfer Station rules and regulations. Mr. Woodhead.
Mr. President, members of the council, I have before you rules and regulation changes for the Prudence Island Transfer Station. At the recent Prudence Island Planning Commission held on December 2nd, I had the privilege of presenting these proposed changes. Our discussion at the meetings was very helpful. We incorporated some of the changes in the new rules and regulations. So the new rules and regulations for the Prudence Island Transfer Station, I'll highlight the major ones, is the 4-month and the 1-week passes are only for residential waste and recycling. The biggest one is the Prudence Island Transfer Station hours. We moved them from 10 o'clock. What were they from? They were from 9 to 3, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Sundays and Sundays, they were from 9 to 4. We just moved them over from, that was the summer hours. We moved them to 8 o'clock to 2 p.m. We just moved them back 1 hour. We kept the same hours. And 8 to 3. And for the winter hours, the biggest change was we moved them back again for 1 hour from 8 to 10, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Saturdays and Sundays from November 1st to December 31st, we added 2 extra hours because they were worried about leaf and yard waste. They just wanted a little more time to just 2 hours. We gave them 4 hours. And then back on January 1st, Memorial Day, we went back to 8 to 10 on the winter hours for Prudence Island Transfer Station. And then also too, on the last page, on the next page down. No, I'm sorry, the last page.
I know.
The red line copy. Was for recycling, e-waste recycling. We do bring a truck over to Pruitt Island 1 week before we have e-waste on this side, so we just want to make sure we had it in the rules and regulations. So that was a big thing that we put that in there, so that was like the only major changes that we had in the whole.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the changes as proposed by the Director of Public Works.
Seconded. No comments. Meant to check. There's nothing online? No. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. President, not to steal the Director's thunder, but I move that we approve, per his request, the Riverside Street funds for draining system and engineering.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is agenda item number 4. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. President, I move that all the correspondence be received and placed on file.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have future meetings tomorrow, December 12th. Council meeting, we'll have executive session. That meeting is Portsmouth room.
Yes.
That meeting will be in the Portsmouth room. Our December 26th meeting was canceled. And we have our January 8th meeting at council chambers, and our January 22nd meeting is scheduled for high school.
Pleasure. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you, everybody.